Well, everyone, we are back with another Nerdvana podcast, and since now spring has arrived, nothing just screams like April, the month of spring, like the first 4 Alien movies. Isn't that right, Ian?
Hey, that's why I'm wearing this shirt.
That's a very nice shirt.
How symbolic, this season of new life. Chest bursting!
So anyway, yes, for the month of April, it's going to be the Alien Quadrilogy. I think that's the only movie series that actually has that particular term. Which I don't know. I think the biggest mystery is what comes after quadrilogy? What's the word for that?
Anthology.
Quintology?
I think so, yeah, quintology.
Okay. Either way, yes. First movie is Alien, and Ian, what was your experience with this movie?
Oh boy. Well, when I first saw it, it scared me to death. I actually saw it, crap, what year was that? I think it was summer of 2017, I think I first saw this. And I enjoyed it immensely. However, when I watched it for this reviewing, I was giggling so much. Because that's the only way I can get through it. I have to transform this hideous monster into something when I go, oh, hello! I'm going to eat your sandwich. But
I think Family Guy beat you to the punch when they gave it the gay southern voice. Hi y'all, I'm an alien. I'm gonna eat you.
No, I can't help but imagine the tap dance routine from Spaceballs.
yeah.
Oh, you mean hello, my baby?
Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Baby, you set my heart on fire.
If you refuse me, honey, you'll lose me. Then you'll be left alone. Oh, baby, telephone and tell me I'm your own. Check, please.
But yeah,
I think
this film, it's a work of bloody, messy, drooling art.
I have to agree. My first experience was definitely around the time I was in high school, like probably a year after the novelty that was Alien vs. Predator, or as it's known as AF.
F.
And so I was curious, and so I didn't want to go into a movie that had characters with established franchises. So I watched the first 2 Alien movies, and which is kind of funny because I found out later that those are the best ones in the entire anthology. So thank you, film gods. You've never steered me wrong. And the first Predator movie, and I caught the Predator 2 on TV, so some of the stuff was cut out, including the swearing. And what I can say is about the first Alien is that I was not ready for it. And when I say not ready for it, I don't mean I wasn't ready for all the blood and gory. I was not ready for how deep, how grand of a film it was. I was not a film person. I was just a movie guy. But after seeing this movie, in preparation for the review, I gotta say, man, have I been missing out. Tyler, what about you?
Honestly, I just saw it for the first time last week. Now, that's not to say I knew everything about the famous moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's been out for, 40 years?
This is its 40th year now.
This is its 40th year, and when it's out for that long, it's kind of like trying to hide a spoiler after like so long that it's impossible. So
it's almost like saying how I mean, how do you not get Live Long and Prosper from Star Trek?
Yes.
It's that iconic.
And so, like, I knew so much of the pieces of information such as the dialogue. My favorite part, which was the dialogue of Ash, is like, I can't blame your chances, but you have my sympathies.
Oh, man.
That still gives me chills, but that being said, watching it for the first time, I saw it. Mind you, I cannot go back to as a younger adult or like even a kid watching this for the first time and getting that. It's hard to get back in that mindset to view it through the eyes of a different age.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at it from my current age of 29 years old, and I'm just dissecting it and noticing the very special quirks that this movie has.
Mm-hmm.
Quirks that I do not see in movies often. Very, very often.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the pacing is... If this were released in today's era, people would hate it. They would say it's too slow.
They would probably walk out of the theaters.
They would walk out of the theater because they think nothing is happening, rather than taking in the atmosphere of this build-up. Which another thing was, this movie is all about showing. There's nothing telling. We don't know. The characters don't know. We don't know. Nothing is ever is told. We only find out as they are finding out.
Which is honestly pretty cool, because I guess that's because since this is a movie that came out in the 70s, and a lot of movies from that age were all about were part of the counterculture movement, like going against established norms, from its writing to its characters to even how stories are told, and it's through a lot of showing. I mean, you and I, we had an earlier discussion, and I kind of wanted to bring up, how is it any different than Jaws, though?
Honestly, what makes this the most unique movie, I call it a monster movie, by the way, and a space monster movie at least, and it's the one monster movie I know that has less screen times than the frickin' shark.
Yeah.
I have to agree, although I do feel that they pull it off in a clever way, though we will get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's not because of technical difficulty, it's just, it's more efficient.
It's more efficient. It definitely, I mean, makes you remember the alien. It makes you remember the alien, and also in kind of this day and age, it adds to replay value.
Yes.
I mean, like, what did the monster look like? I could have sworn I saw it had 5 fingers. No, it had 4. Yes, did it have 2 mouths? No, it only had 1.
And that's not to say that. What the best part about it is what horror movies lack nowadays is memorable characters. Because let's face it, horror movies today are cardboard cutouts. You know what the stereotype are gonna put the characters in. However, because of how less of the monster there is, we get more of the characterization of these characters who have chemistry. They play off each other. Freaking when the engine breaks down and Ellen says, "I'm coming down," and 2 guys are like, "What's she gonna do?" Like typical guys apparently would do back then.
Either that or I'll make the argument for their defense that they probably don't know how good at engineering that she is.
Yeah. And regardless, they're also asking for a pay cut. That is relatable.
Or pay raise.
Pay raise. A bigger pay cut.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they are kind of relatable. Even the main captain named Dallas, and we'll also kind of get into let's also discuss the names later on, because that's actually fun to talk about production wise. But even the Captain Dallas, when he's just you can like after John Hurt's character, when he's finally okay, quote unquote, after his ordeal, and Ripley's chewing him out about protocol, and he goes, "I just want to go home. I feel like I've been on this planet forever." I mean, we can kind of relate to him on that.
Freaking, after I punch out from work, do I want to stay around longer than I have to?
And this was also a detour from the company. They were supposed to be their towing ship, and then all of a sudden they get orders from the company, which is revealed later in the sequels, I believe.
Yeah.
That they need to do an extra mission.
What about you, Ian?
Well, overall, the thing that strikes me... Now, I'm probably going to repeat things that have been said over and over and over by every person who's reviewed this. We can't...
It's okay.
This film, I think, is a bit of ahead of its time, and I know we're 40 years past when it was released, but it's still... Okay, so, to preface it, I think we can all agree that normal pregnancy is something that most people would consider sacred, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And the brilliant thing about this movie is that it takes a beautiful thing that almost every person considers sacred and twists it to something horrific. We have homosexual oral rape. We have a man becoming impregnated. We have childbirth, death in childbirth. All things that are generally considered to be specifically feminine characteristics being perverted and twisted onto a man.
That's a very good point to bring up because Tyler and I were talking about like what were we going to talk about during this review, and I said I kind of have a feeling I want to talk about all the Freudian stuff in this movie.
Yes.
It's kind of hard not to.
It's kind of hard not to, and honestly, the choices that have been made in the movie are kind of deliberate. Like the reason why John Hurt's character was the one to die, which also I kind of pointed out, he was the first one to wake up in the beginning of the movie and the first one to die. I don't know if that means anything. I just want to point it out. How is that essentially he's a victim of rape, and he unwillingly gives birth to this creature. The reason why it was him chosen, not him specifically, but a male character, was so that audiences could kind of feel uncomfortable, because this is not a normal. Back in that day, it's not a normal thing to happen. Men don't get raped, and they definitely don't get pregnant. Nowadays, half of that is correct.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I did have to poke some fun. Like, I see a space egg. Let me stick my face in it.
Oh, those curious humans.
Yes.
Yes.
For science!
For science!
I honestly wondered what your reaction, Ian, would be, Ian, to that when I say it was for science.
Well, for me, if it's for science, I would probably take out a notepad and document it, because I definitely wouldn't put my face over it.
Okay. Well, you probably, even if you didn't know exactly what it was.
That's just a standard thing in science. In chemistry, you don't put your face over a boiling beaker.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's logical. I mean, I'm not sure if people thought about that back when it first came out. I'm pretty sure they didn't think like, oh, let's look at this closer. Let's look at this more closer.
I am kind of amazed at the design and how actually they were able to pull off the effect of the egg. Is that most of it actually was the inside actually was made with organic material. was either like sheep guts and everything.
I was more impressed about the special effects presented in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me.
Especially when he shined his flashlight on the egg.
Mm-hmm.
Feature effects. Okay. Here we go. Quote from Wikipedia about the egg. The scene of Kane inspecting the egg was shot in post-production. A fiberglass egg was used so that actor John Hurt could shine his light on it and the movement inside, which was provided by Ridley Scott fluttering his hands inside the egg while wearing rubber gloves.
Huh. That is impressive.
Very impressive.
On top of the egg was hydraulic, and the innards were a cow's stomach, and test shots of the egg were filmed using hen's eggs, and this footage was used in early teaser trailers. For this reason, the image of the hen's egg was used on a poster and has become emblematic of the franchise as a whole, as opposed to the alien egg that appears in the finished film.
Ah, okay.
Intriguing.
I always wondered why the egg looked different in the poster.
Yeah, it's just a hen's egg.
Speaking of that egg scene, I found out something that just made me giddy from a different fan's perspective. I'm a big fan of classic rock, British Invasion mostly, The Who, Rolling Stones, The Kinks, but my absolute favorite British classic rock band is The Who. And if you don't know who The Who is, just listen to the intro of CSI series. I hate to bring that up, but that's what they're famous for nowadays in this generation. But the laser lights that were in the egg incubator scene were actually the laser lights used for their stage show, and you can actually see it. And I actually encourage all listeners who have made it this far to YouTube. Won't Get Fooled Again, 1979, The Kids Are Alright, because those laser lights appeared in that little rockumentary.
Talk about irony. The kids are alright.
The kids are alright. So, and the reason why is because Alien was actually being filmed on the soundstage right next to where The Who was.
That's kind of fun.
That is awesome.
Now, of course, watching this movie, there was some fun nitpicks that I wonder. There was a lot of things I did wonder about why they had to chop out some scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a lot of information missed over, like after Brett, got Shanghai up in the air, sky, vent.
Yeah, actually, and I'm not faulting you. I'm not faulting you on that. Yes. It turns out that a lot of re-releases, Blu-ray re-releases of the original Aliens franchise have actually had the original theatrical version and a director's cut, a longer one. And so after seeing the movie, I actually did go out to Best Buy, got a Blu-ray version that has both versions of the 4 films. And in the director's cut, they've actually added a few deleted scenes, including the infamous one.
Yes.
The cocoon scene.
The cocoon scene. But it's weird because when you watch the movie, Brett gets Shanghai, and you cut to the next thing. It was big, man. It was huge. Did you guys see it?
I know
that's just kind of jarring when Brett was by himself, and what?
Mm-hmm. And that's something I have to disagree with Ridley Scott on, because he actually hails the original theatrical run as his vision, his most perfect vision, but he's not like George Lucas.
No.
He kind of knows where there could be some improvements.
But I will admit that it doesn't look as terrifying when you see the director's cuts version, because it doesn't look as terrifying when he gets shanghaied up. It's more or less he's just carried off screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when he's screaming, and it's more cheesier that the alien squeezes in his head like a tomato.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I actually did rewatch the director's cut. I watched the director's cut, and they still keep the original theatrical death, and then immediately cut to him being like yanked up, and with Parker and Ripley coming and checking, and they see the blood just trickle down onto them, and still even as a deleted scene, that's scary.
That is scary.
It's scary.
And I was baffled. Like, why not leave that in? That would give a lot more context.
Pacing. Runtime. Maybe the executives thought it might be too gory. Remember, this is Fox. Now, even though heads change, maybe practices don't.
Yeah. But I just want to point out that.
Oh, jeez! I just remembered something.
What?
Disney now owns the Alien franchises.
That's correct. I have some details on that because I've been following this. Disney now owns Fox and all of its assets, including the Alien franchise. However, Disney has released a statement saying that they will continue with Ridley Scott's Alien series with still being horror.
Okay, because my thought was, are they gonna do this under like a Touchstone thing, like not slap their Disney logo on it, obviously, but handing off to a subsidiary of theirs, Touchstone Pictures.
I cannot answer that at this time. I will do some research and get back to you all on the next podcast.
Okay, and the reason why I shouted thank you that that Disney was still going to continue is because earlier today I told Tyler that I'm kind of glad Ridley Scott is continuing the Alien franchise, albeit in a very weird direction.
Still not happy with Covenant.
Because if he wasn't in charge, if he wasn't sailing this ship, then it would probably be rebooted hard, and I have a feeling it might have gotten like the Ghostbusters treatment.
If anything, it'd be more like Friday the 13th or Freddy Krueger, which is just meh.
But by Disney, I feel like with kind of their direction, they would kind of make most all of the men either incompetent or assholes.
Yeah, touche. Then again, that's typical horror.
But and that's kind of funny because Alien, at least for the first 30 minutes, is sci-fi horror. It's just completely atmospheric. Then when the alien comes in, then it kind of turns into a basic horror film. Yeah.
The more interesting part is the fact that now the previous year when the movie came out in '79, previous year John Carpenter's Halloween came out. Now I'm not sure if it was following the formula of what Carpenter laid out.
Probably not, because
I'm pretty sure it hadn't caught on yet. It was just still catching fire.
Yeah.
And so now did you guys know originally Ellen Ripley was supposed to die?
I did not hear that.
Yes. Ridley Scott's original version was to have Ellen Ripley speak into, "This is the Nostromo. This is Ellen Ripley. All my crew on the Nostromo are dead."
Okay.
And as she is saying Ellen Ripley siding out, that's when the alien was supposed to rip her head open.
Ooh.
And it was supposed to mimic her to send a distress signal or beacon to come to him.
Whoa.
But here's where it gets funny. Fox did not want that.
I'm kind
of happy, actually.
Yes, the one time we're actually happy with executive meddling, because then we probably wouldn't get aliens.
Exactly. Like, Fox didn't want the monster to win. And weirdly enough, in the 70s in the horror genre, there was no survivors.
I don't know. In Jaws, the monster gets blown up.
The body snatchers.
Oh, the body snatchers. Yeah.
Yeah, no one survived.
Okay. True. Yeah. Oh God, that was actually a good remake.
Yes, it was a good remake. But no, irrelevant aside. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with executive meddling, which this proves that it can be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. If you have the right head on your shoulders.
Exactly.
So let's see. Crap! I hate it when we come to this part. I've hit a dead end on my train of thought.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Jerry Goldsmith,
yes.
he did a really wonderful job creating this ambient. I don't think it's called ambient sound. It's this ringing sound.
It is technically it is ambient.
Technically,
yeah. Yeah, this is the guy that created the Star Trek theme that would later be for the first Star Trek film that would later become the Next Generation theme. Honestly, the theme that I actually like more than the original one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the opening credits where line by line they spell out the title of the movie. And it's just that ambient track. That's how you do a score. That's how you do a score. You have an ambient soundtrack that kind of establishes the tone, and then you kind of go into the more lyrical melodies, like that we know for, all of James Horner's music, John Powell and How to Train Your Dragon. That's what's missing from live action movies nowadays, is that scores don't feel lyrical. They're not melodic.
Most movies nowadays feel like it's just the music is white noise.
I know.
It doesn't accompany the movie. It doesn't provide a scene of context. It doesn't add to the scene. It's just kind of there to fill the silence.
Mm-hmm. And funny enough, it's the ambient track in Alien. I think it's mostly just ambience right there.
It's mostly just ambience and silence.
Which works in that movie's favor because it's creepy. It's unsettling.
I mean, all you hear are beeps, all the beeps, the lines. Now? And the. I will say I chuckle whenever I see this high technology. All this VHS fuzz, all this blocky text letters, all this high tech stuff that's so blocky that I can't help but giggle. Be like, I can't believe we thought this was going to be the thing of the future.
Well, technically, when we view the future, we always base it on the present.
Indeed. I mean, imagine if they could look at what our future is now, like skinny screens.
It's very skinny screens. I mean, I'll bet I'll bet there's a movie where the future that's set in the 90s, they thought VHS tapes were actually the size of cassettes or mini cassettes, not on CD discs.
Not even CD disc anymore. Just digital.
Yeah. And I want to say I love the set.
I think that's kind of what makes up for the slow pacing.
I love the design. I love it is enthralling and yet creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel homely, but it doesn't feel like it's there to terrify you.
You can just tell like something is wrong.
Oh yeah.
And no, I will I'm not criticizing it. I'm just I have to poke fun at it because the Nostromo ship design feels like it's a flying egg carton.
It does.
Like it looks like a flying upside down egg carton. I'm like, That is the most weirdly designed ship I have ever seen. And I'm comparing this to Star Destroyers, Millennium Falcons, all these ships that look very aerodynamic, even though there is no air in that space.
I had to point that out to him.
It's like, I can't take this ship seriously.
I know. And, well, okay, with all that we know about space, it's kind of okay to have a little leeway and not be so nitpicky, but oh yeah, I'll give you credit on the design. It's of the Nostromo. It's very weird.
Yeah. Like, even Star Trek, the Enterprise has a more look.
It looks like a pizza cutter. In fact, I think they actually made a pizza cutter of that.
I want to get that now.
Sets. The sets of the Nostromo's 3 decks were each created almost entirely in one piece, with each deck occupying a separate stage. The actors had to navigate through hallways that connected the stages, added to the film's sense of claustrophobia and realism. The sets used large transistors and low-resolution computer screens to give the ship a, quote, used, industrial look and make it appear as though it's constructed of, quote, retrofitted old technology, end quote. Ron Cobb created industrial-style symbols and color-coded signs for various areas and aspects of the ship. The company that owns the Nostromo is not named in the film and is referred to the character simply as, quote, the company, end quote. However, the name and logo of, quote, Weyland-Yutani appears on several set pieces and props such as computer monitors and beer cans. Cobb created the name to imply a business alliance between Britain and Japan, deriving Weyland from the British Leyland Motor Corporation and Yutani from the name of his Japanese neighbor.
And that's kind of funny because there was this long-standing rumor that that the name of the company actually came from the 2 neighbors of Ridley Scott, who he hated. And so he named this evil company after his hated neighbors. And thank you, Ian, for pointing that out. No, that's not where it came from.
That's gotta be hilarious, though.
Would be freaking hilarious. But I'll bet if that's true, then those neighbors were probably going, "Where are our royalties?
Where are our royalties?
You use our name without our permission. We want money."
No.
And that, but I had a thought, like, while you were saying that, Ian, this just kind of adds to kind of how sleazy this company is. It's like they're so stringy. Or stingy, I mean. They're so stingy. Like they're penny pinchers, and they'll actually cut costs.
Oh, sounds like a company now.
I don't know.
But
Omnicorp?
Sure, let's go with that.
Let's go with that. but honestly, I think that's why I like this movie. It's very mystery. That's the biggest thing I think why many people like this movie. I mentioned this before. It's all showing, no telling. We don't find out. And what the character knows, we know. And so Ripley. I'm confusing Ripley and Ridley.
Yeah, I know. I kind of wonder if that's. I wonder if
that was intentional.
Yeah.
When Ripley goes to Mother and sees the directives, and it's intriguing to find out the information because we ourselves are learning along with her.
And when that revelation that apparently the directives were to retrieve life form crew expendable. Every time someone was contacting Mother, there was always this wide shot. So you see this entire panel of light dots around. And then when the revelation that the company betrayed them essentially left them to the slaughterhouse, the camera zooms in on Ripley, essentially since now Dallas, the commanding officer, is dead, diverting all orders to her. it closes in on her, adding more to that
claustrophobia.
That claustrophobia. Again, brilliant filmmaking.
Yes. And now, oh man, I find it intriguing. I really find it intriguing that the Soul Survivor, and now it's weird to think that Sigourney Weaver not surviving a movie, blaspheme. But when she first started this role, she was on complete unknown.
Yeah, she actually got second billing.
Yeah, honestly, no, she was the least well known out of all the actors who starred in it. So everyone else was expecting the other ones to survive except for her. She was the complete underdog.
And honestly, we as humans, we love underdogs.
Oh yeah.
As we instinctually want people to succeed.
Now, let's talk about the one scene that actually scared me. The only one that actually scared me.
Which one?
When Ripley managed to escape the self-destruct.
Oh, right.
Now she's like,
oh yeah,
I hate you,
that's
mother!
right.
I hate you, mother! And she goes and manages to get down to the escape shuttle, and she flies away, manages to escape, and she's relaxed. Everything's calm. She just recorded her message. Fan service stuff.
It's the 70s.
It's 70s fan service stuff, and it's about ready to she has her pet cat. Awesome. And her pet survives, and she's about to. She notices something weird in the wall.
And this is what I said, and it was completely unintentional. I was like, hey, that tube on the wall actually looks like the head of the alien, without missing a beat.
Yeah, that actually scared me.
And I jumped too, and I was both you and Yana were like, did you know? That's why are you scared? You knew that was gonna happen. I was like, I didn't. I swear I didn't.
Yeah. Oh. That's just... Okay. Ridley? That was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Because it looked like a freaking wall. It looked like pipes. It looked like it belonged in the scene.
That's how you do a jump scare.
Like, we were looking at the monster, like, really straight in the face almost. Like, well, side of its head.
Yes.
But we were literally staring at it.
And that...
Oh, yeah.
Now that we're back on the topic of the alien, we have to talk about its design.
Its design is based on H.R. Giger, who apparently was also an inspiration to Joel Schumacher, who famously created Batman Forever and Batman and Robin.
That's neither here or there.
I'm sorry, did I say famously? I mean infamously.
Again, that's neither here or there.
Okay. But yeah, the whole design, the design of the alien is downright terrifying. I think it's like if part of a dolphin was spliced with a human and then turned inside out.
Weirdly enough, what I did like about what they did...
Oh, okay.
Now, intriguingly enough, because this alien is so unknown, it's creativity is allowed to be used about what it looks like depending on what host it breeds. So that which wasn't implemented until later on.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, because the first movie, human, is used as an incubator chamber, it appears more human.
Mm-hmm. It's honestly, this movie is so iconic. You actually think that's what it looks naturally.
Yeah, but nowadays more people are more signifying it with the Alien 3 quadrupeds.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
So yeah, when we get to those would be the only two movies I haven't seen of the Alien franchise. Although I did see the end of Resurrection. Does that really count?
Resurrection.
Yeah. Anyway, it turns out at the smaller Alien, which actually that was actually a later design that Ridley Scott had to override because the initial concept art for the chestburster didn't look quite right for Ridley Scott. He said, and I quote, "looks more like a plucked bird, like a plucked turkey."
Yeah, that's what it says here on Wikipedia. Although,
and
screenwriter Dan O'Bannon credits his experiences with Crohn's disease for inspiring the chest-bursting scene.
Really?
Huh.
And yeah, it's still the most iconic scene that it was parodied in Spaceballs, even bringing back John Hurt for that one bit.
Not again. God bless you, Mel Brooks.
God bless you, Mel Brooks, and God bless you, John Hurt.
Now, that fun fact. Did you know that the crew did not know about that chest bursting scene?
I found out later.
That is correct.
No,
Yeah, that was completely unscripted, and so Veronica Cartwright's scream like, "Oh my God!" was completely non-scripted, and that was. I tip my hat off to you, sir. I tip my hat off to you.
And actually, I think after that, I might have read somewhere that the very first burst of blood was not told by the crew so that their reaction would be natural, because like when it gets all silent, that's an actual reaction. There's like, what the fuck?
So that was that. The iconic scene still holds up, and just oh man.
I mean, just with how it's set up. I mean, you think that this guy is all right, and and before he goes back to sleep, he just wants some food. Everyone's laughing, they're bantering, they're pushing each other's buttons, and then all of a sudden you see a small shift in his facial expression. Then he starts coughing violently.
It looks like he's having a heart attack.
Oh God! And then you see the first spurt of blood, and like,
oof. Now, was Stan Winston involved with the design or the animatronic?
I don't think so. If he was, he didn't get credit.
Yeah, I don't see anything on here. Going back to the chestburster scene, crap, where'd it go? Here we go.
Because I could have sworn that while he was trying to sync up something for the Alien, he met, was it James Cameron or someone who told him give him mandibles, which inspired a Predator.
Oh, I don't know.
But that's just what I read or heard somewhere.
For the filming of the chestburster scene, cast members knew that the creature would be bursting out of Hurt and had seen the chestburster puppet, but they had not been told that fake blood would also be bursting out in every direction from high-pressure pumps and squibs. The scene was shot in one take using an artificial torso filled with blood and viscera, with Hurt's head and arms coming up from underneath the table. The chestburster was shoved up through the artificial torso by a puppeteer who held it on a stick. When the creature burst through the chest, a stream of blood shot directly at Cartwright, shocking her enough that she fell over and went into hysterics. According to Tom Skerritt, what you saw on camera was the real response. She had no idea what the hell happened. All of a sudden, the thing just came up. The creature then runs off camera, an effect accomplished by cutting a slit in the table for the puppeteer's stick to go through, and passing an air hose through the puppet's tail to make it whip around. The real-life surprise of the actors gave the scene an intense sense of realism and made it one of the film's most memorable moments. During preview screenings, the crew noticed that some of the viewers would move towards the back of the theater so as not to be so close to the screen during the sequence. The scene has...
This was before 3D.
Yeah. The scene has frequently been called one of the most memorable moments in cinema history. In 2007, Empire magazine named it as the greatest 18-rated moment in film, ranking it above the decapitation in the scene The Omen and the transformation scene in An American Werewolf in London.
Oh.
Now, another fun fact, going off what you said about Tom Skerritt and is it Skerritt?
Yeah, Tom Skerritt.
Movie theaters were getting tired of people puking because of the chestburster scene. They were cutting out the scene entirely.
Oh.
Now, just Now, I'm going to tell you that is a horrible thing to do because there's little context if you cut that out.
I think they had a
But they
similar
said
problem with Jaws.
But they said, well, it solved our problem. Like, you just ruined the best movie experience.
Whew. Man, that whole scene. I mean, it is great for a reason. I mean, the stars all aligned. It was shot in one take. The actors didn't know what was going to happen. It freaked the audience out that, as Ian pointed out, they backed away from the theater. It was perfectly done.
It was.
And then even the reaction to where they're all just looking at this weird creature that's just sitting in the twitching body of their friend and coworker. They're just like in shock. They're like in shock of this. It's like, what the hell just happened? What is that? They don't need to say anything. Their faces say everything.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
And Parker was the sensible person.
Parker is
grab a pair of scissors and try to stab the thing.
Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
No. Okay, now perfect segue. Ash. What is...
Played by Ian Holm.
Dude, awesome actor. Now, what is the special effects for that other iconic scene with the android?
Right here.
Well, okay. Well, I'm pretty sure. Well, which special effect are you talking about? The
decapitation with all the. Is it noodles and?
Well, I think what they did use was some Alfredo sauce and spaghetti noodles for some of it. The decapitation, I don't know. It looked. I mean, the arms that. I mean, there is that thing about where you kind of put a fake pair of shoulders and arms above your head, or like kind of bend down, put something on. But I can't do it properly. Which
John, the audience
and
can't
also
see
you can't see. Yeah, they can't see me.
But no, like almost because to me, like I think that too is like up there with the chest burst scene. Is another big surprise.
It is a very big surprise, especially when you see that little bit of white stuff come down Ash's temple.
Yeah,
it's like, what the hell is that?
And his monotone, like the entire movie he was speaking with like emotion, and all of a sudden he speaks with this synthesized monotone.
That's all of the directives were expendable.
Here we go.
I admire its purity.
For the android's innards, list here is milk, caviar, pasta, fiber optics, and glass marbles.
Oh, I did see some marbles in there.
But like, I think Ash has the best catchphrase in the entire movie. Honestly.
Don't touch it.
Well, no. Like, his entire monologue is the most memorable part in terms of dialogue.
Oh, you have my sympathies?
You have my sympathies.
Apparently that was the scene that you knew even before seeing the movie because you saw it on YouTube and you were able to quote that.
Yeah.
And after that was ended and he gives that smile, I mean, that's like the most polite fuck you
it is
I've ever heard in a movie.
It is the most polite fuck you ever.
And it's kind of funny is that after Parker like torches the head, and you see kind of like it's nothing like a little white mannequin head, looks an awfully lot like the engineers in Prometheus.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's where the company got the idea.
I mean, and just think about how she was going to kill Ripley. Good God, shoving magazines down.
Actually, funny bit of trivia that kind of makes that scene lighter is that Ian Holm actually did Ridley Scott told Sigourney that Ian is going to shove a magazine up your hooter. Weaver did not understand that that hooter in British actually means nose. She thought he meant breast.
Oh lordy. Oh man.
So cultural differences. So that's funny. And also Ian. But getting back to the more serious part, Ian's performance as Ash the android actually finally makes sense of a quote that I've seen in Alien saying that of how the model of androids that he was always were a bit twitchy. And yeah, you can before he goes all crazy, he is a little twitchy, and even when he's trying to be normal, there are still little bits of like stuttering and twitchiness. So I gotta hand it to whoever wrote the script for Aliens for actually deciding to expand a little bit on the lore of this movie. But I do have to nitpick a little bit about that. Why is it that the crew did not just completely confine Ash after he tried to stop Parker from killing the newborn alien?
That is a good question, but honestly, well, as Dallas would say, he is a scientist.
He didn't have to kill him. Probably like quarantine or lock them in the brig.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a towing ship, but they probably still have a place for insubordinate workers.
Indeed, but then again, remember, Dallas did violate Ripley's order. You're not
protocol.
Quarantine protocol. So, if he were to do that, well, he's a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, I just want to go home.
True. All right.
Now, the other iconic scene, which is, there's two more, honestly, in my head. The one that I have to point out because I'm going to be trying to play this game live stream, Alien Isolation, which involves a motion tracker. And there's a terrifying concept that you can only see the thing moving on a flat dimension, which is dot. And you can't tell if it's high or low.
Can't tell how far it is?
You can't tell if it's above you or below you.
Nope.
You just know it's near you.
No, yeah, it's within the vicinity. Yep, I've seen it. I've seen playthroughs. Check out Markiplier's channel.
Good old Markiplier.
Good old Markiplier.
Yeah, it's my deep voice and pink mustache. Notice me!
But no, I'm gonna be anyways, I'm gonna be streaming that at some point. But
I will
regardless,
be tuning in for that.
it is a terrifying. Huh?
I will be tuning in for that.
But thank you. But it is terrifying because Dallas is trying to hunt down this creature, and he's like, where do you go? And also, it's heading towards you, and he's looking around, and you're looking around. It's like, where could it be coming at him from? And so that does add this heightened tension.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Man.
However,
What about you, Ian?
what about the design of the actual adult alien?
You know what? When I mentioned all the Freudian stuff in this movie, I found out a few interesting facts that went into the costume and giving the alien its look. The tendons for its jaws? It was actually made from shredded condoms. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And apparently to give it that oily, slick look, KY jelly!
I think I mentioned that in our first shooting of Fallen Kingdom review. The one that had to be scrapped.
Oh. Wow, that was so long ago. It's almost been a year. It's almost been a year since that coming out. But yeah, so My God, if Freud was alive to see when this movie came out, he would be having a freaking field day.
Probably.
You've got a whole series of books on it.
I know, he'd write 12 volumes on it. Yes, he would. Even the alien's head is shaped like a dick.
Yep.
Okay, going...
So...
And it was actually based nearly entirely on Giger's artwork. I believe it's Necromorph 4?
I thought it was Necronomicon 4.
Hang on. Necromorph IGE. Let's see, Google, what do you got for me?
Let's see.
No, that takes me to Dead Space.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Necromorph is not. That's an alien species to a different franchise.
Yeah, I honestly thought when I looked up on Wikipedia that it was called Necronomicon 4.
Oh, that's probably what it was, and yeah, my mistake.
Oh, that's okay. We know what you meant.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's based on that, and good God, it is very terrifying. But I think in pop culture, it's seen as like the ultimate killing machine.
It is.
I mean, it has blood for acid, which apparently was added during pre-production to explain why can't they get the face hugger off his face?
Oh, yeah.
So it's got a second mouth that shoots out of its first mouth that can pierce a human skull, and it's got a spiked tail.
And it has a scorpion-like stinger. Let's not mention the biomechanical appearance of it.
The web fingers.
Yep, I think it has 7, if I recall correctly. 7 fingers.
And the thing that creeps me out, and this was expanded in the game Isolation, and when I see its hand moving, it's like very bony. It when it bends, it's kind of like gives this very knee-jerk reaction of "get away from me."
It's almost like kind of like like a spider.
Exactly. I hate to go off topic. I do remember another fun fact. I don't know if you guys know about this, but I think at one point Veronica Cartwright did slap Sigourney Weaver.
Yes, actually, hold on. That came up on IMDb.
Because she kept flinching.
Let's see. Hold on. Where was that? Let's see. Animatronics. Let's see. Original cut was bloodier. Creatures never filmed directly in front of the camera. Let's see. Original draft title was Star Beast. Oh, here we go. A scene originally cut but reinserted for the director's cut shows Lambert slapping Ripley. Lambert is Cartwright's character. In retaliation to Ripley's refusal to let her, Dallas, and Kane back on the ship. According to Ridley Scott and Veronica Cartwright, every time she went to slap Sigourney Weaver, Sigourney would shy away. After about 3 or 4 takes of this, Scott finally told Cartwright not to hold back, really hit her. Thus the very real shocked reactions of Weaver, Yaphet Kotto, who plays Parker, and Harry Dean Stanton were... Oh, thus the very real shocked reactions. Okay.
Yeah, just imagine Ellen Ripley being slapped by Veronica Cartwright.
And so, yeah, let's see. What we were on. All right, so now we're going back to the design of the alien. How about its life cycle?
Ooh, this is my area.
Which kind of also we can now bring in the infamous deleted scene.
The cocoon scene.
Okay, Ian, you have the floor.
All right, so
or the mic, I guess.
according simply to the first film, the first stage of the life cycle is the ovomorph, or the quote-unquote egg. These can apparently lie dormant forever, and are they themselves their own organism. Inside of an ovomorph is the face hugger, and the face hugger will attach itself to a host and use an orifice to implant its, the xenomorph DNA into the host. Going on from there, this is what I like about the face hugger. Not only does it impregnate an organism, regardless of what sex the organism is, it also acts as an umbilical cord, keeping the host alive by feeding it oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually the face hugger falls off and dies, and after what I presume to be a couple hours, maybe, would you say, until the host...
I think it's supposed to take like up to a day at the most.
Okay, so about 24 hours until the host wakes up from a coma, and then everything seems normal. All bodily functions are restored, and things seem relatively okay. If I recall correctly, and this is shown, the host has a ravenous appetite, because its energy is being used to grow the baby alien. Now, the baby alien, once it's reached a certain size, it will then do everything in its power to escape from the host body, which it typically involves chewing its way through the rib cage and the sternum. It will then forcibly crack the sternum and thereby killing the host.
Woo!
The little chest bursters will then scurry away to find a place to nourish itself on whatever food it can find and shed its skin to grow.
I'm gonna have to remember that, because that's also a nitpick I have.
After
Continue on.
What we know about it thus far is that it sheds its skin at least once, possibly more, and it will eventually sprout, depending on the host, it will sprout limbs, a phallic shape of the skull, protuberances along the back typically, though not always, again depending on the host DNA. It will generally be very aggressive and very strong, and will have an intellect similar to the host.
Similar to the host.
Similar to the host. Depending on the intelligence of the host, that will in turn affect the intelligence of the xenomorph organism.
Oh boy, am I glad that this did not take place in Nazi Germany.
Oh god.
Can you imagine an alien with the mentality of Hitler?
But continuing on to evolution.
Then the alien will proceed to eliminate all threats from the immediate area so that it can start a hive of its own. Depending on certain theories, it will itself create new eggs from other organisms in the area, or it will simply grow into a queen. It seems that both theories are correct.
And
it will
that's
create
what
more
gives
eggs
us...
and give us
using
a queen
the host
eventually.
as well. Eventually, so using Captain Dallas as transforming him slowly into an egg.
and Brett, and that's what gives us the infamous cocoon scene. I don't know why it's so infamous, or even why it's cut, but apparently when it surfaced when it did surface on the internet, people were kind of like demanding it. It was like the most talked about scene. I guess maybe because
we wanted to know more about the alien. I keep saying this, like, we want to know more about this.
I think maybe because since the scene actually came up after Aliens, which added to the lore of the aliens, that they are like a beehive. So or even like an ant hive. There's a queen that breeds all of them. This scene pretty much says that no, you don't really need a queen to make eggs. What you need is an alien and some unwilling hosts for the organic hosts for the eggs. So
they're both aligned, because if you don't have a queen, you gotta do something to get something started.
And it's honestly
brilliant.
Yeah, and also even without the context, that scene is still so very chilling, because you see Dallas, who's like withered away, and he just very weakly begs Ripley, "Kill me." It's honestly just chilling.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
And did you guys know that the the xenomorph organism, almost all of its biological traits are taken from real-life animals, including implantation?
Really?
I did know that one.
Oh yeah, I know there are certain like funguses or even insects that do actually plant eggs inside of living organisms.
Mm-hmm.
The one I know off the top of my head is a wasp that will attack a caterpillar and plant eggs inside it.
I was thinking about a spider, but
it's like Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And then the baby wasp will hatch, eat the caterpillar from the inside out, and then proceed on their merry way.
Nature is scary.
I don't think they work on humans.
Thankfully.
Thank God. But still,
I dread to think of that cordyceps could affect us.
I know, but still, nature's scary.
And then, of course, there's the taking of the host's DNA. That is also something we find in nature here on Earth.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Certain microbes will trade DNA.
I think Hiccup wants some attention. Is that? Oh, yeah. I just remembered. Toothless is in this kennel. Oh, excuse me. Hiya, Toothless.
So,
come here, Hiccup.
Out of curiosity, what's your thoughts on since Covenant is not going to be a part of this month, what's your thoughts on Covenant's lore?
I personally enjoyed it.
I felt disappointed about it. The idea that the alien's a biological weapon.
Yeah, I didn't exactly appreciate that, but I still enjoyed it.
Okay, I'm back.
Hello again, John.
Alright, so about the biological weapon, I kind of remembered at a point you wanted that you were going to call the alien biological weapon.
Yeah,
so the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like but yeah, just imagine instead of aliens, just biological weapon. The movie.
Honestly, I would have taken Star Beast over biological weapon.
Yeah.
That would, because
it just kind of ruins it. Because so we're naturally curious about if there's life beyond the stars, and this ultimate, destruction of a beast.
Mm-hmm.
No, and only find out it was man-made.
Yeah. Yep, no, it wasn't nature that created this perfect killing machine. It was man.
Yeah, I heard this before. No, there's only so many times I can hear this before I get tired of it.
Yeah. We'll probably save that for the future.
Yeah.
Alright, so... Honestly, what else is there to talk about?
Well, hey, cat scares.
Cat scares. Oh, right, yeah, there was...
And the one nitpick you had.
Oh, right. The nitpick that I had, you mentioned about how the alien sheds its skin. When Brett is looking for Jonesy because they scared it, when he's looking around, he actually comes across the husk that sort of looks like it came from the alien, and okay. Given the context, we've seen this kind of stuff, especially in Tremors. How usually shed skin of what you're hunting or what can kill you is usually a bad sign. But still, I honestly thought that okay, if you found shed skin or something that does not belong on that ship, don't you think you should probably say screw the cat, let everyone else know about it?
That is logical, but the problem is they're using motion trackers, and the cat's going to interfere with that.
True. But still, don't you think it's kind of important to tell everyone? It's like, hey, I found this thing. It looks like skin.
It is. That is true.
And I think we got a bigger problem. I think we got a bigger problem than the missing cat.
But hey.
So that's my only nitpick.
Honestly, I was just kind of happy the cat survived.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that cat survive.
Oh yes, pet immortality. Almost like child immortality.
I wonder if that's going to be tested with La Llorona.
La Llorona?
Yeah, a horror movie that's coming up sometime this month.
Oh yeah, I think I might have seen a trailer for that.
Yeah.
But that's neither here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, what I will admit, the biggest thing I will dig in on, oh my god, this I could live without, is the self-destruct sequence is awesome. It is terrifying, but the lights flashing, boom, beam, bam, boom, my eyes are flashing epilepsy central here. That I'm all like, oh my god, my eyes.
Yeah.
I wanted to wear some sunshades.
I think I remember saying, hey, it could be worse. It could be that banned episode of Pokemon.
I'm freaking thinking it inspired it.
That banned episode of Pokemon that actually sent about 12 children into seizures in hospitals.
Ugh.
Because of the flashing bright red and blue lights.
Oh man. But yeah, it was like, that's the only thing, it is an awesome note. It gives tension and scare, but my god, it hurts my eyeballs.
Yeah. Although, again, I think that might have... I think, it's the 70s. I think that was probably for the drug trippers.
Oh, we're going back to this again.
Mm-hmm.
Drugs.
Am I seriously high, or am I seeing a face in that cloud?
Does that wall have a face? Dude.
Hey, dude, don't look now. But I think I see a ghost in the chair next to mine. I'm right over here, man.
Honestly, that whole I love that self-destruct sequence, especially when Ripley's trying to stop it.
Yes. Mother's a frigid bitch.
Yes, she is.
Ripley even
delaying
says that.
everything.
I know. You bitch. Not as iconic as the one in the sequel, but still good.
It's still good. I will say, I laugh so hard when how she defeats the alien. It looks like a ragdoll being towed.
It does. And funny enough, in the time that I first originally saw the movie and to rewatching it, a lot of my knowledge of what happened in the movie withered down except for several scenes, and that was the chestburster scene. Actually, the egg scene. The scene, the first victim, and the climax. Like, all I remembered is that I could have sworn that there was like a bright light that fires the alien off into space. I must have been off my meds the first time because for the life of me I could not remember that it was actually a jet turbine. It was the thrusters on the shuttle that knocked the alien off.
Regardless, like, the effects doesn't hold up for that scene.
In some respects, right.
It's about as good as the effects of that guy from RoboCop falling down that skyscraper.
Yeah.
Slenderman much?
Actually, the effects in Alien are kind of a little bit better than the climax of RoboCop. At least the ragdoll didn't look like Chucky. Which also, side note, the more I keep on saying I will never watch Child's Play, I keep on getting the feeling that yes, I will eventually.
Because Mark Hamill is going to be voicing Chucky.
Yes, I don't want to watch Child's Play. I absolutely don't. I don't want to. That's now why I have to evolve to. I have to. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah. Now, have you guys seen the fan arts of, like... Now, I do remember... Previously, I told you guys that Ellen Ripley was supposed to die, but there is fan art about how she was supposed to die.
Really?
Yeah, remember when she's putting on her spacesuit?
Oh, yeah.
And she's looking at the alien. When she goes to look at the alien again, it's right against the glass, staring at her.
Uh-huh.
Where it's about to, through the glass. What's his tongue?
I'm kind of glad that they did cut that scene out, because then that would be like that would probably be the one thing that kind of ultimately killed that movie. Like, how was the alien able to perfectly mimic her voice? I mean, it didn't even show, even show in any parts of the movie that it was actually even capable of speech.
Well, true, but as Ian said, it will have intelligence close up to the host it previously came from.
But then wouldn't it sound more like John Hurt?
It would.
Which, honestly, I'm not against.
The alien speaking like John Hurt.
I mean, it's the legendary John Hurt.
Obviously, that would be more terrifying.
It would be, actually. I'm going to lay eggs that are going to attach to your face, and my little children will burst out of your sternums.
God.
But also, I'm sorry, listeners, that's the first time I've actually tried to imitate John Hurt. So sorry if it's not...
Sorry if it sounds like that guy from the Black Cauldron.
Mm-hmm. That was the guy from the Black Cauldron.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what your imitation is sounding like. Because I'm pretty sure there's better roles.
Yeah. But if you want me to sound more like the genie from Aladdin, I'll gladly do that.
Just as long as not the Will Smith version.
Is there I meant the real genie. Sorry.
We'll give you a chance, Will. Just wait until you're coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll see.
Alright, so now we've gotten off track. I don't think we have anything more to talk about this movie. I mean, I'm actually surprised we didn't focus on John Hurt so much.
I mean, he is a memorable actor, and he's legendary.
And one of the very few actors that dies in every movie.
Yeah. Now, I do want to say this though. I do want to say this. I think this movie is more of a novelty.
Okay.
It's a novelty because it's a fun thing to watch, but at the end of the day, you know, it can never be replicated. It cannot not be copied. It's impossible.
So wouldn't that mean it's a masterpiece actually?
No, because there is a lot of flaws. But the thing is, even with those flaws, it stands out big time. But only a few people can really appreciate it because in today's age, everything is fast. Gotta go. We gotta have boom, boom, pow, pow, boom.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff has to keep flying across the screen. We have to process information. We had to have all this stuff jammed in within 2 hours. It has to be all quick and fast.
Yeah.
No, we can't have our audience bored.
I mean, let's see. A lot of movies they kind of fail to do that. You look at Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Try to jam so much into 2 hours. And then on the opposite spectrum, you have Infinity War,
which does it good.
Does it very well, and of course, tells the story from the villain's point of view, which now makes everything easier to understand. But with Alien, sorry.
Yeah, but you continue. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it is a novelty, and one that, unless you have a really special touch to try to attempt a style, it will be very hard to even pass today.
Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of in the same way. It is a movie that it is a movie that definitely needs to be watched if you're planning on going into film. You don't have to just be a sci-fi fan, but I do think you have to be like in the right mindset. You can't just be like, oh, I'm bored today, I think I'll put in Alien. No, that's gonna have the direct opposite effect. Yes, the pacing can be kind of an issue, but if you plan to just like absorb every frame of this movie, from its sets to its acting to its lighting to its structure, from everything, you need to be in the right mindset. And I think first time viewing, I wasn't in the right mindset. I was actually kind of going between my TV screen and my iPad in some cases, but that didn't diminish the replay value that this film had. So I'm still glad that I watched it. And honestly, that first pass, it kind of now made everything shorter, actually.
Yeah.
And pacing is no longer an issue.
Honestly, I think the first thing I recalled after I first watched it with you, that, like, talking about pacing, is the weirdest thing I noticed was how it's the slowest. Like, if let's take a car. You get in the car, you start the movie, and by movie we're talking about car, start the engine, and you just start to drive. You're going at 10 miles per hour. Now imagine going 10 miles per hour for an hour and a half. Or half an hour. That seems awfully slow. And then, for some reason, the next half hour, it goes up to 30, then 50. That's how it felt. It is the weirdest pacing I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is like, it's slow and all of a sudden, everything just goes BAM at once. From the first time the alien busts out of the chest.
Which is like right at the 35-minute mark.
Yes. To the whole Ash being revealed as an android, which is another, if the chest burster is the 30 miles per hour part, Ash being revealed as the android is now 50, to the self-destruction sequence, which is now 80.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, once Ripley escapes the ship, it goes back down to 20.
Mm-hmm. Before immediately stepping on the gas.
And so, the pacing is unique, I will say that.
Yes.
What about you, Ian?
I agree. My first viewing of it, I did think that it was a little slow at the start. However, as I, through subsequent rewatch, I think that's part of what makes it good. It's slow, it's uneasy. It's like the alien itself. It's slow, it's graceful. You know that something's going to happen, you just don't know what or when. You just know something bad is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think this movie is a novelty then?
Perhaps. I mean, again, I agree. It's not for everyone. But if you're going, even if you're a casual film critic like me, or you definitely should at least watch it once.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
surprisingly, in my high school film class, we had it on standby, but we never watched it. We watched The Exorcist, which was boring as hell for me. But we didn't watch Alien.
You have to see that movie.
Don't bother, it's boring.
I did see it. Yeah, what?
It's boring.
The Exorcist?
Yeah, I found it. It's a good film, I'll give it that, but it's just boring for me.
Okay.
You guys mind if I bring up details about the release of the film, so we can see what the reaction was at the time?
Yeah.
Sure.
Alright, quotes from Wikipedia. An initial screening of Alien for 20th Century Fox representatives in St. Louis was marred by poor sound. A subsequent screening in a newer theater in Dallas... Okay. I feel like that was chosen for the character, but okay. Went significantly better, electing a genuine fright from the audience. 2 theatrical trailers were shown to the public. The first consisted of rapidly changing still images set to some of Jerry Goldsmith's electronic music from Logan's Run. The second used test footage of a hen's egg set to the part of Goldsmith's Alien score. The film was previewed in various American cities in the spring of 1979 and was promoted with the tagline, quote, "In space, no one can hear you scream." Alien was rated R in the United States, X in the UK, and M in Australia. In the UK, the British Board of Film Censors almost passed the film as a AA for ages 14 and over, for us here in the US. Although there were concerns over the prevalent sexual imagery. 20th Century Fox eventually relented in pushing for a AA certificate after deciding that X rating would make it easier to sell as a horror film. This is where it gets good. Alien opened in American theaters on May 25th, 1979. The film had no formal premiere, yet moviegoers lined up for blocks to see it at Grumman's Egyptian Theater in Hollywood, where a number of models, sets, and props were displayed outside to promote it during its first run.
Ooh.
Here's my favorite part of this paragraph. Religious zealots set fire to the model of the space jockey, believing it to be the work of the devil.
Entertaining.
Oh god. You know what's kind of fun? What's kind of funny is that I remembered a little bit of trivia about that, but is that the end of? But I'll get to that until you're done with your side, Ian.
There's a little bit more. In the United Kingdom, Alien premiered at a gala performance in the Edinburgh Film Festival on September 1st, 1979, before starting an exclusive run at the Odeon Leicester Square in London on September 6th, 1979, but it did not run widely in Britain until January 13th, 1980. And then there's just some stuff about box office stuff.
Okay. Apparently the design of the egg was, we all kind of know it has like the 4 corners that open up. Originally it was actually supposed to be 2. Again, kind of adding more to that whole Freudian design that is throughout this whole movie. It looked vaginal. That's what I'm trying to say.
I heard about that.
But apparently, something. I guess the executives said that this, because of that, we can't have that design, because then then a lot of Christians will probably protest the movie, because that has to get an X rating, that kind of thing. So apparently in a way of giving the middle finger to the Christian side is that turning it into an X, a cross. Like it's a cross that breeds this ultimate killing machine.
That's kind of.
And I remembered that from your paragraph, and also I just remembered another thing that I said that we'd talk about later when it comes to the characters. Their names.
Yeah, I'll scroll up to them.
All right. The fact is that when it came to the casting, they really had no set idea about who was going to be cast as certain characters, so they had names that were gender neutral. So Ripley, funny enough, before being played by Sigourney Weaver, was going to be played by a male.
Somewhere here on Wikipedia, it said that the script was specifically written so that everything would be gender neutral, so that the directors could cast and interpret the script how they would interpret it. So they had complete liberties with the sex of the characters.
And and seeing as how nowadays is that gender is such a big non-issue. I'm sorry, I have to throw my hat into that. It ultimately kind of makes me laugh in an ironic way. Is that this sort of fight that's going on over the internet has already been fought, like 40 years ago and 50 years and 50 years ago, and yet they think that they're the ones that are pioneers, they're trailblazers. I hate to burst your bubble. Actually, no, I kind of like doing that. What you're doing has been done before, and Alien is kind of proof of that. That they were already thinking about gender lines. They were already thinking about gender when it came to writing this film. It's honestly, it's pretty cool when you think about it. Oh, you tired, man?
No, I'm just listening.
You're just
You
listening?
have the floor.
I have the floor. Okay. Well, I'm kind of done. I'd like to say, yeah, it's pretty cool that in the 70s they were already trying to defy the conventions. I mean, you had Princess Leia, who was more than a damsel in distress. No matter who tries to tell you that.
Princess Leia, Sarah Connor.
Well, well, funny enough, it's Sarah Connor and Ellen Ripley who finally become strong female characters in their sequels.
Yes.
And both by James Cameron. But anyway, what I'm thinking is that you gotta pick your battles and not try to delude yourself into thinking that you are the first in something, because I remember that I think Thomas Jefferson might have been the one who says, if I can see very far, it's because I stand on the shoulder of giants.
Oh yeah. So how do we end this?
I think we can now go to our ratings.
Our ratings.
Okay.
Oof.
And Tyler, I might need your help because I forget what the star rating correlates to the grade.
Okay, let's see. 5. I call 5 stars is S rank. It's essentially the letter equivalent.
I didn't mean that grade. I meant like school grades, like from an A to an F scale.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm adding the S rank as legendary.
Oh, so A++.
Yes, A++. It's the cream of the crop.
Okay.
And 4 stars is an A. 4 stars is an A.
Oh, this was out of 10.
Oh, 10.
Yes, we're doing it out of 10.
Okay, so 10 stars?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought we were doing like half stars, like 4.5 or something. Which
Oh,
it
I
correlates
can't
the same
remember
way.
anymore.
It correlates the same way, regardless.
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's be sure we're aligned with the scales here. So, 10 stars, or is it 5 stars?
10. I guess 10 stars.
Okay. If I had to give it, I have to give it a grade. If I had to give it a grade, it's 8 stars.
Okay.
8 stars was 2 thumbs way up.
All right. And what kind of letter grade would that be?
That would be a B plus.
A B plus. All right. Well then, I guess I can. Even though there is a pacing issue, I still like the use of lighting, and the atmosphere. So I would actually have to give it an A minus grade. So I give it. Would that be 8.5 or 9?
8.5.
I give it an 8.5 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah, so again, 2 thumbs way up.
And for me, coming from a somewhat scientific perspective, I can look at this film in many different ways. It's how it functions as a story, and what it's saying, the amount of research and detail put into it. From what I know about basic scientific procedures, it follows all the marks, at least how a character should act should they be in this position. Quarantine. That was a thing ever since the lunar mission. The alien life cycle. Very interesting, very detailed. How it portrays its characters, not so much as people, but as things to this alien creature. What it represents to them. Overall, the film is very solid. The effects hold up rather decently, considering when it was made and what is not shown. This film plays on the old show don't tell in an interesting way, in that it doesn't show. It keeps it hidden and taps into a primal fear that we all have, the fear of the unknown. And as such, due to the impact on our culture that it's had, and how long the film has lasted, it's now 40 years, and we're still talking about it, I have to say this film is at the very least for me, 9 out of 10.
Now, me giving it 8 does not mean it is bad. It's just, no, things age, and some age gracefully than others.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's just a nice way to put it. But no, nothing is perfect, and no, I'm judging this by its theatrical version. I have to judge it by the final product, and since things are cut out, such as Brett, being taken up to the rafters, and the characters like, we saw the thing, like, we didn't see you looking at this thing. So, and then there was just some things that it could be improved upon.
Mm-hmm. And even the director agrees.
And so it's like, and I hope nobody's taking it wrong that me just giving it an 8 it means like it's not that great. It's just it's like I have big respect for it, but
Right. And my reason for giving it an A minus is due to the fact that it is a visual splendor with its sets, both of the alien world, the inside of the Nostromo, the way that it uses light, just the overall atmosphere that's sort of what I look for in the film. And it honestly, it's the visuals that kind of help distract you from the slow pacing of the first 30 minutes, because even the lack of sound, because you're just looking all around, like seeing like where could the alien be? Where's the face hugger? Is it behind her? So you're just searching around the whole set along with these characters, and so again kind of bringing you into the experience with them. And so that's kind of why I think it's an A-. And true, some effects don't hold up, like some of the wide shots, like out in space where you see planets, or even the explosion looks a little too, well, cartoony, like a little too cartoony for my taste. But I can forgive it because I'm used to that. It's a distinctive look for those older films, and number two, well, I just said the last part. It's an older film.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm glad that I saw it. I'm glad that I saw it again with much better eyes, with much more experienced eyes than what my high school self didn't see.
I don't know, I kind of regret not being able to see it when I was much younger. No, there's certain periods you can only watch and experience it differently when you're at a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
Watching it when you're younger gives you like a different worldview compared to when you're watching it older, where you're much more jaded and you're like you're looking at it through a much more harsher critical lens.
Mm-hmm.
You're not loud, but that's where it's impressive that this thing still wowed me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at age 29, watching it for the first time, and it's impressive.
And let's see, it is. I have to agree with you. And I think with that, we now conclude the first podcast of Alien April. Tune in next time when we review the highly praised sequel that I think might have actually relaunched James Cameron's career.
Yeah.
And cemented Ripley as a very strong female character.
And also made the most awesome yet terrifying sequel name that you could ever add to a sequel name instead of having just a 2.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just add an S.
Yes. Make it plural.
Make it plural. If one is scary, nope. Just imagine the many.
Mm-hmm. That's...
But until next time.
Yes, until next time. It's game over, man!
Game over!